Hello friends and fellow VEDSies, welcome to day 12 of VEDS. It is day 11 as I'm filming this, but it's going up tomorrow. It's a whole thing. I am here in downtown New Westminster. New Westminster was the first capital of the province of BC way back in the 19th century, and it's a city that still retained a lot of its history and its charm, and one of my favorite places to wander around. I've done plenty of historical related videos here from New West, but today I wanted to focus on three specific buildings in the downtown core, all about a block from each other, that all have very interesting histories and stories of being repurposed throughout their lives into what they've become now. And I think they all tell interesting stories, so I'm just going to wander the downtown core here in New West and talk about some history. And I'm going to start right here at what is now Kelly O'Brien's restaurant. This is the old CP rail station that was built in 1898. Of course, the Canadian Pacific Railway is what ties this country together. Built in the late 19th century to connect the West Coast with the East Coast and provide a means of transportation across this country for the first time. The CPR originally built a rail station here in, I believe, the 1870s, but the original station burned down in the Great New Westminster Fire of 1898, which wiped out a lot of the downtown core here. And as you can see, they rebuilt it with fireproof materials, rebuilt it out of brick. It was originally just this that you see in front of me with these two spires and the center here. The two wings of the building were built in 1911, and the rails are still behind me. I can only imagine the rails might have been right here. And I can't decide if I'm just imagining the way this pavement looks like it was built over rails. It must have been. I imagine there were once rails right here, in addition to the ones that survived behind it. But yeah, this is the building mostly as it looked in 1911. I'm not sure exactly how long it remained in use by the Canadian Pacific Railway, but I do know that in 1973 they converted it into a restaurant. It was not Kelly O'Brien's. In fact, it operated as the Keg for decades. The Keg closed its doors a few years ago, and the building survived. Well, the building would have survived anyway, because in 2004 it was designated a Canadian historical landmark, so it can't be torn down. But it found a new home now, of course, as Kelly O'Brien's, and it's open and you can dine inside here. And the building, of course, sees a new life under that. So cool to see these repurposed buildings, and I got two more to show you, including the one right across the way in front of me here. Like a body with a broken heart. Back in the day, this area was the hub of transportation for New Westminster, and this was one of the terminals for the British Columbia Electric Railway. It was built in 1911. As you can tell from this, which I can only imagine might have been the original entrance to the building, based on this awesome walk in BCER 1911 for the British Columbia Electric Railway. It almost looks semi-modern from the back, more 80s sort of design, but around the front it still retains some of its original beauty. Not sure if the building was extended back there or if they retrofitted it at some point, no idea. Nowadays it's a Salvation Army, but if you'll notice, it's got these odd angled sort of dividers. That's because I am standing pretty much on what would have been the original electric railway line. The trains would come in here and go out on this angle, and this would be the side platform. And what's even more breathtaking or heartbreaking is that during the Second World War, this is where some of the soldiers who are going off to war would line up. They take the electric railway train from here and they'd leave. This is where so many troops were dispatched from during the war, and there were like public events held to see them off to their journey to Europe and elsewhere for what was undoubtedly a truly horrific experience. They left through what is now that wall. Some of you may remember this iconic imagery from World War II, that photo of the armed forces leaving and one child breaking free to run out and grab the arm of his father before he left for war. And that photo was taken here on 8th Street as the regiment was preparing to leave from this very terminal. A very hard to read and rainy plaque has been set up here to talk about this photo and this day. It reads as follows: the British Columbia Regiment, Duke of Connaught's own rifles, marching down 8th Street to Columbia to a waiting ferry. While Detloff was taking the photo, Warren Whitey Bernard ran away from his mother to the father, Private Jack Bernard. This photo was displayed all over the world, getting exposure in international press, and hung in nearly every school in British Columbia during the war. In commemoration, the Wait For Me Daddy statue was erected on October 4th, 2014. And again, this building could have been demolished long ago, but they found a use for it as the Salvation Army's thrift store, and it survives and thrives to this very day, serving, like in the case of the last building, a very different purpose than it was originally built for. But I don't want to end this video on too somber a tone, so I'm going to walk over here to the Westminster building. It was built in 1911 into 1912 to serve as the headquarters for the Westminster Trust Bank. It's described as being the first modern fireproof attempt at a skyscraper, and it is the first skyscraper here in the Royal City. The original plans were to build a 6-story building, but while they were building it, they decided to increase its size to a whopping 8 stories to sort of signify the growth and prosperity of the area. Again, it's another one of the post-fire buildings, as are so many on this street. So much of this street was rebuilt during the first and second decades of the 20th century, and this building was high above the rest of them. And it's been a landmark for, yeah, like I said, about 110 years. It still houses many offices, 6 stories of offices, although Westminster has since moved out of the building. Now the ground floor is used as a Waves coffee house and continues to function. Like I said, so many of these buildings receiving new leases on life, and you can tell it is beautiful on the inside as well. But yes, this was the first skyscraper. I mean, 8 stories is hardly considered a skyscraper nowadays, but it was considered the first skyscraper in town, and it's amazing. And I know I said I'd only talk about 3 buildings today, but there's one more that just is catching my eye as I'm filming this video, and it's something that New Westminster has done a few times, and it's just so cool. Take a look at how they've used the old trap block building and built up behind it. They've kept the original facade of the building and built a whole high-rise. I was gonna say skyscraper. It's like you call this a skyscraper. Look at how far we've come. There's few things I love more than a good ghost ad. Hard to see what that says. Samson and Sons. There's a few different ads under there. Really cool. This building was actually the tallest building on the block till they built the Westminster block. They built this building between 1902 and 1904. Like so many others on this street during the decade or two that followed the fire, there is another historic building that's been built up on top of what was originally existing. And I just think it's so cool that instead of demolishing the classic facade to the trap block building, they rebuilt the whole thing while keeping the outdoor aesthetic. It's very cool. New Westminster is a beautiful town. I've loved it ever since I came to school here for a couple of years. You find endless new cool things to explore as you wander the streets of this town, and I love it. So that's going to do it for this episode of the vlog. Just wanted to show you guys some of the historic sites in one of my favorite cities. Thanks so much for watching. Like I said, this is day 12 of Vlog Every Day in September. I've got 18 more videos to put up before this month is through. Thanks so much for watching. Check out the description for links to where you can find the channels of all 6 of the other wonderful fellow VEDSies, the other ones who are undergoing this amazing challenge like I am. And yeah, like this video if you like what you saw, subscribe to my channel if you've been enjoying my videos, and you can ring the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I upload a new video, which will be tomorrow and every day for the rest of this month. Thanks so much for watching, and I shall catch you all again soon.